The year is 2003. Mwai Kibaki has just been elected president, and with him comes along free primary school education. This girlie gets her chance to be upgraded from her kawaida local school that was, well, a public school into a fancier liquor school that apparently everyone used to think was a private school, but turns out was actually a public school, and only the fancies of fanciest, elitiest people used to go to that school. Well, mostly. And on her first day of school, she shrunk herself. That was my first encounter with confidence, technically. Or at least I should say that was my first time where I was aware of my lack of confidence.
Hello, my name is Muthoni Gitao. Welcome to another episode of Just Doing Life, the podcast, a space where we explore all the parts of life that we do not like to say out loud. After all, we are all just winging it.
Confidence is not something I had ever thought about until that moment. What is confidence? How do you gain it? Lose it? And if you lose it, how then do you rebuild it? Let's get into that. Welcome to another episode of Options. If you're new here, Options is a weekly series where I get to share all the life lessons I have learned in my 30-some years in efforts to help you navigate either the same situations or maybe help you skip over them and not have to deal with them if you can avoid it. Today, we will be having a conversation around confidence, building, rebuilding, and maybe also just clocking it. We'll be talking about what I learned from that experience, the number of times I have lost confidence, not only in myself, but in things that I've been doing over the years, how I have learned to rebuild my confidence, where it comes from, because, well, kind of comes from somewhere, and the importance of trusting in yourself while you're going through this. But before we get into all matters confidence, I gotta ask you, are you confident enough that you did your homework last week? See what I did there? Last week's homework was really simple. We were talking about reinvention, and the homework was about writing an area in your life that you want to reinvent, and then putting down 3 things that you think you can start doing now to help you in your change journey. If you did it, please do share if you are confident enough. I keep going back to confidence. If you're confident enough to leave it in the comment section, we'd love to hear which areas, even if it's just the area. You don't have to share what the things to be done were, but you can definitely share the areas in life that you feel you would want to improve on or change. For me, I think I have been on a journey of reinvention since what? I was gonna say beginning of this year, but truthfully, since late last year when I was like, I don't like my life and I want to do something about it. So for me, it's been an everyday thing. And one of the things that I have been very adamant about is constantly writing my goals, be it the goals of the week, the goals of the day, the goals of the month. And seeing that we are in a new month, I had written out my goals for the entire month, and I had to shift some from last month because last month I wasn't able to get through all my goals. So I carried some over. And if I'm being honest, sitting down and recording this particular episode was one of my big 3 tasks for today. Today, I have not been feeling great. I am dealing with the flu or homa. And I've been feeling really bad. It's bad, that one where you feel like the ringing in your ear and you really don't want to do anything. To the point that in the morning when I did my morning things, which are in this case is I woke up, I wrote my morning pages, I did my meditation, and I was done by 8. And then at that point, the option would have been go for a walk, but it was drizzling outside. So I did this thing which I have not done in a very long time. Like I said, I'm not feeling my very best. I went back to bed and I told myself I'm gonna go sit in bed and doom scroll for an hour. And then at 9 a.m., I'm gonna get out of bed and get started with my day. And that's exactly what I did. So at exactly 9, because I usually do have a reminder that goes off at 9, I got out of bed, made myself a mug of hibiscus tea, made some eggs. I initially didn't even have plans to have breakfast, but I was like, might as well. So as we talk about reinvention, as we were talking about like the homework thing, for me, being able to do the things that I say I'm going to do is very important because I'm building trust with myself by showing up in ways that I say I'm going to show up. Because one of the reasons why I plan my calendar ahead of the week is so that regardless of how I'm feeling or what is happening during that week, I am going to say, hey, everything that was going to happen today has already been decided. So we're going to show up and we're going to do it. So I don't have to wake up that morning and start thinking about it. I do understand as well, because showing yourself grace and being graceful towards yourself is also very important. I do understand as well why I felt the way I felt this morning, because I had a really rough night. My nose was blocked. My throat was in pain. It was actually painful for me to swallow my own saliva during the night. I was up from like 2 a.m. to the point that I literally started playing some soothing music in the background to see if I could easily fall asleep. So from around 2 a.m. and even leading up to 2 a.m., I didn't sleep that well. I woke up at 2 a.m. and then it was downhill from there. So I do understand where that comes from, because at the end of the day, I am human and I am having a human experience, and this is part of it. The importance is, how do you treat yourself after something has happened? And for me, I was like, you know what? I'm still going to get this done. I was like, even if it means I'm going to do it later in the evening or at night, I'm still going to make sure that it happens. And I'm glad that I'm doing it now, because the lighting situation has changed and it's looking drastically better than it did this morning. So I'm actually happy with that. My point was, whatever small step, it doesn't matter how small it is, I hope you took yours. And I hope you are now feeling more inspired to do a bit more towards the things that you want for yourself. Okay. So let's talk confidence. I've just told you a short story about the first time I ever shrunk myself. And the thing is, growing up, confidence was not, I didn't know what confidence was. Does that make sense? Like I didn't, I didn't have I didn't have a thing. There was like no checklist of, oh, this is confidence. This is like, it wasn't something that we spoke about. Was I a vocal person? Did I love storytelling? Was I a loud child, as they like to call us? Yes. But I didn't look at that and think, oh, I'm such a confident child. I used to perform very well in my school, the school that I was in. All of us, like, we'd gone to school together from when we were like in class one. Some of us came from the same nursery school into that primary school. So we'd known each other, we'd grown up with each other. Then here I am at like 12 years old, going on to 13. And I've been moved to another school where people have similar relationships, where they've grown up together from like class one. And the culture there is so different. So, first of all, I felt like a fish out of water. People were speaking like I've always loved English. I've always worked on my diction, the way I pronounce words, being articulate. That's something that I was very interested in. And I don't even remember actively doing it, but I used to love reading. So I show up, and this school has kids who have accents. And by accents, I mean like foreign type accents. There's foreign students who are from um like I had a friend from Congo. So yeah. And they speak multiple languages. And I was like, oh wow. And at this time, I'm this tiny girl. And I've just been shoved in there. And I remember feeling very, very small. Not just like, yes, in size, because the students there, some of them are like way taller. I don't know what they were putting in their water, but there must have been something. And I felt really, really small. I recently started learning how to swim. That school had a swimming pool, and I remember our first swimming lesson. This is oof. It's a hard thing to admit, but I still get it. If I get into that Muthoni's mind, I see what she was doing. She was trying to protect herself. So first swimming lesson, I remember, I think it was a Friday or a Thursday. First swimming lesson. So we were excited, like, oh, now I've gone to a school that has a swimming pool. I can learn how to swim. This is nice. And my mom had bought me this swimming costume. I remember it very well. It was blue and yellow. It had like tiny sunflowers. So it was blue and then it had tiny yellow sunflowers. And I go for my first swimming lesson. And the first swimming lesson was the teacher was trying to get us to float and put our heads in the water. And I don't know if I was floating or not. I can't remember it that well. And I felt like a lot of the other people in the class with me, by the end of that, they seemed to be doing slightly better than me. Some of them had done like the Dufumpara rows. So they kind of had basics of like they've played in the water before. This was my first time doing this. The most I had done was dip my feet in like a tiny river. Okay. That time, my confidence in learning new stuff went out the window. By the time we're coming back, and then when I went home, I was coughing. So I just blamed it on the fact that, this swimming lessons and I guess it's the pool and, it's not heated and all that. So I never ended up taking another swimming lesson. I used to show up during our swimming classes and I would sit there and I would dip my legs in the water. And I used to talk to the swimming instructor and we'd chap us to rows. And what I did is I told them my mom forbade it or said, oh, because last time I got chest pains. My mom is not comfortable with me swimming in the cold water. I think I said something like that. And as far as my mom was concerned, I think she thought I was learning how to swim. Another thing that happened was we did our first exam. And when we did our first exam there, remember, I've come from a place where I am the number one student, right? I used to always be in the top three. The one time, I'll never forget this, the one time I was number 4, I had been sick and out of school for a whole month. And then I came back in time for the exams. And then I was number 4 and I was very pissed off at Alex. Alex was my classmate because that was the first time where the top 3 were all guys. And that pissed me off. I've always been a feminist, it seems. So we do our first exam. And when we do our first exam, I am number 14 in this class of 28 students. I believe we were 28. And I was like, dang, I'm nothing but a basic average student. I am not a star student. And I think from the school that I was in before, I think my confidence came from being a star student. My confidence came from the fact that when I would walk down the hallways, people knew me because I used to be called up in the assembly a lot. I remember even when I moved to Lavington, there was a student who was also from my previous school. And she told me how she was like, because we weren't in the same class. She was like, hey, I used to know you because you are always, whenever we'd go for the parade, which is the assembly, when they are celebrating the top students, you are always being called to the front of the school and we had to clap for you. So now here I am, number 14, and I'm like, wow, I'm a dunderhead. That was like the first thought. And I was like, okay. The thing is, the report card system in the new school was very different from my old school. My old school, we had an actual booklet and they'd put in all your whatevers, and your parents would come take it from, when you close school, they'd come pick the report card from the teachers so they find out how you performed. In this new school, they had a different system where it was like still it was like it was an actual report card, not a booklet. It was an actual report card. And you, as a student, were given to take it back home to your parents to sign it and approve that they've seen it. And then you bring it back to school. So for me, I'm over here and I'm like, hey, now that star student has left the room, I was like, my parents can't see this. And since my mom didn't know what the system was in this new school, I just never I think I got like my cousin to sign it or something. I got someone to just sign for me and I took it back to school. At the end of the day, I was like, they don't know my mom's signature, so we'll be fine. And the entire time I was in that school, my mom did not see my report card once. Again, confidence checks out. The confidence that I had built from being a star student, from always performing very well in class, completely down the drain. And now, since I was no longer a star student, I had to become other things to be able to make friends, to be liked, because being liked also as a student is important. And not forgetting that I'm new. So these guys don't know me. They don't understand that I'm funny or that I'm like a certain way, right? So it's like I have to build friendships with people who've built their own friendships for a very long time. I end up making some friends who I used to sit with for lunch, and we'd like share foods. And then there were these moments where certain students will be friends with you because you carry certain types of meals. But I remember that time, like again, the friendships that I built there were based mostly off of me just telling stories. If I remember correctly, I used to tell stories. I used to go with the flow. Okay. Um, I used to have cute things, and sometimes when people would want my cute things, I just allow them to take them, even if I didn't want that to happen because I wanted to be liked. So after that, I go into high school. High school is a very different demographic, right? In high school, when you're thinking confidence, when you show up, first of all, I show up to this school, I show up late. Leading up to high school, I'd gotten sick. So it took a while for us to get me a school. We actually had to get, it was through a favor. We had to get an aunt of mine to ask for a favor from the school where my cousin used to go to. So I show up to this school. First day of school, I have Homa. My voice is really deep. And everyone is like, oh, is that what you sound like? Oh, you sound like I do. Like, and they were asking me if I knew someone who used to be called Baba because she used to have a deep voice. And I'm like, guys, I just have Homa. That's it. And there, when I go there, at least I remember there was one person who I had gone to the first primary school with, and we used to be friends. Her name was Regina. We used to be friends. We used to walk home together because her mom and my mom used to be in the same chama. And then my cousin used to live next to her cousin. So the three of us, Lucy, Regina, and myself, used to be friends. And we used to walk home together. So when I go to this high school, Regina is there. So I'm like, ooh, someone I know. And other than her and my cousin, who was like cousin through marriage, there was no one else in the school that I knew. So I was like, okay, now we have to start making friends all over again. And the first thing that people noticed was the way I used to speak. Like I said, I had really practiced my diction. I used to love reading books. And I remember like coming off this, I used to watch a lot of films, a lot of stuff. So people noticed how I speak. I was doing very well in English, and teachers used to like me for some reason. So that's something that people clock. And that gave me some boost of confidence. It's like, hey, look at me. Okay, we're not doing too badly. And I got that boost of confidence from validation from other people, right? So this entire time, so after that, we come out of school. I end up doing my creative work. And within my creative work, being a performer would be like you're up on stage. The confidence to even get up on stage is because you have people gassing you up. Like the director is like, oh, you're really good at this role. When you go for an audition and you're picked, you're like, hey, I'm really good at this. So you're building your confidence around that. And I think at this point I had started developing a personality, my own personality. And so in terms of the reason I'm sharing all this is to show that a lot of the confidence that I used to exude was based off how people used to see me, how people used to react to me, how people perceived me. It wasn't really like from an internal sense of whatever. Like it wasn't an internal self of knowingness, okay? And it was interesting because people used to always tell me, "Oh my God, you're so confident. How are you so confident?" Oh, because for me, it was just those things for, I think I used to also exist in a bubble. I lived in my own little world. And in my world, I was like, oh my God, I'm a really good poet. I'm a really good actor. I'm really good at what I do. And it's something that I think I've carried on over my time as an adult, where even now I keep telling people the way I believe in myself, I believe that I can learn anything, and I know once I learn something, I can at least do it half decent. I'm not saying like I'm going to do it at 100%. I'm saying I know I can get you like a proper 50%. And that's something that allowed me to try on different things. I signed up to write for a magazine straight out of high school, and I got the job. So I was like, hey, I must be good if they're willing to give me this job. There's a time I was also doing, as a writer, I was doing what are they called? These articles that people used to write. So this was before everyone and their mother had a blog and a website. There used to be like specific websites where you'd get information about lifestyle. So it would be like skincare, fashion, hair, all these things. And so, because they used to churn out so much content every day, I worked for a group of people where we'd do the research and actually put together the articles. Then the editors would go through the articles, then the articles would end up on these websites. I don't even know which websites we used to write for. I just remember we used to get paid for it. And like that was nice because for me, I was like, hey, a whole story about like, I think I've actually shared that, how they ended up not paying us and disappeared and it was like a scam. But they were submitting our articles because you would be told how many of your articles have been approved every day. Because then now that's how you were able to count how much to expect at the end of the month. So my confidence leading up to all this was coming from the point of, I believe I can do whatever, right? I believe in myself so much that I can try anything. And I think in that trying, it allowed me to really explore my creative expressions. It allowed me to play around with my creativity, where today I would go somewhere and I write my poetry in like a prose style. Then I go see people performing spoken word. I'm like, I think I can do that. And I go and I'm like, the difference is like, what's the difference between the two? And then figure out how to show up and write that as well. So I still write. I haven't written poetry in a while, but I did write earlier on. Um I think late last year, I wrote, yeah, for the first time in a couple of years, I wrote something. So for me, I realized, oh, I'm really good with words, right? So it was like, as long as words are involved, I'm good. And then now when you talk to people and people are like, oh, you sound so good. And I remember when I was in campus, one of my lecturers asking me if I'm willing to pursue radio because they were asking me, oh, what would you like to pursue? Because we're doing like, at the end of the day, you can go into advertising, you can go into PR, you can go into broadcast journalism. And at that point, I remember thinking, oh, maybe PR or something. And she was like, oh, you should definitely consider radio. I think you would thrive in it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now from that moment, I was like, I should think about radio. And I remember this time when I was 18. So the reason her saying I should pursue radio meant so much for me was because I remember immediately after high school, I was at home. I remember it was a Saturday and I was doing the cleaning, firstborn daughter duties. I was cleaning the house and I was listening to Kiss 100. And as I was listening to Kiss 100, this particular day, they used to have the weekend chats. This particular day, Caroline Mutuko was the one who was hosting. And so she did this thing where she was saying that she was allowing the listeners to introduce the next song on the chat. So all you had to do was call in and then she'd tell you what song it is and who has sung it. And then you'd say, coming in number 18 is Rihanna with Diamonds. I remember mine was a Rihanna song. So I did that. And then she was like, wow, you have such a beautiful voice, right? Caroline Mutuko. I'm 18 at this point, and I'm like, dang, if she thinks I have a beautiful voice, like that's amazing. So my lecturer going like, you should consider radio, coupled with Caroline giving me her blessing, essentially, in that one 30-second phone call. I was like, we shall maybe do radio. I never finished my campus thingy because I went to do acting. But my confidence was always built off of exterior situations. Let's call them that. A lot of, and even then I wasn't looking at myself and thinking, oh wow, I am so confident. It was always people saying it to me, right? And whenever you'd be asked to like describe yourself, I would always think of what are some of the words that people use to describe me, and the word confident would pop up. So I would always include that. I'd be like confident, ambitious, bubbly. That's always been a word that has been used on me before. So when going through life, then it gets to a point where you become very aware of, okay, I'm confident in this and this. Because sometimes the confidence comes from, I'm confident enough to do my job. I feel confident enough to do ABC. Because sometimes there's the confidence of I can show up into any room and I'll be able to express myself and I feel I can have conversations with people. There's rooms I walk into and I go like, dang, I don't think I'm in the right room. And not to say it's those ones for, oh, I'm better than anyone here. No, it's when you walk into a room and you actually feel intimidated, when you are not sure and you're like, oh, I hope I don't have to talk to anyone. It could also be a problem with me and people, yes. But there's moments where you can walk into a space and actually feel small. So for me, being reminded of that time in class 7 when I walked into that school and felt small, I remember telling myself, I never want to feel that way ever again. I don't want to feel small because it made me reduce myself. I wasn't showing up as my full, a word that we all like, authentic self. I was showing up as the person I thought these people would like. I was showing up as the person who I thought was making up for my shortcomings. And in this case, my shortcomings was like, oh, I come from a poor background. I come from the ghetto, because you're here, you're in school with people who over the weekend, you when you're at home cleaning and stuff, then they go to the movies and you're like, that's a thing people do, right? People used to plan to, I remember, if you remember Wimpy, we used to plan to meet at like Sijui Wimpy for burgers, or what was Wimpy serving? I don't remember. I don't actually think I ever got to experience Wimpy. They were called Wimpy, right? So that whole thing. So it's, because you feel so different, you feel the need to make up for the difference. And so this would end up showing up as people pleasing, right? So in people pleasing, I do feel like your confidence goes down, because even you're not doing this for the right reasons. You're like, I hope they like me. I hope they like me. So you're not even confident in the people pleasing aspect of things, right? Over the years, I have had so many moments where I have lost confidence, and I've had to, and it's not just like confidence, there's the losing confidence in things, but then the losing confidence in yourself, that hits different. I have had so many moments where I haven't trusted myself enough, and they end up showing up in a certain way, or where you're working towards something and you believe in it, but then a doubt, a doubtful thought just pops into your head and you're like, or never mind, right? And so over the years, I think so this one is going to sting a bit, but I was in a long-term relationship. And after the relationship ended, I found out some things about stuff that happened during the relationship that I didn't know about. And that made me lose confidence in myself in choosing a suitable partner. Okay. I was like, I think it possibly still contributes to the reason why I haven't been dating. Or there's that, and also there's like, have you met men? But finding out these things, the first thought that came to my mind was, how did I not know? And then I was like, was I that dumb, or was I that I don't know which word to use. When you're like, did I ignore things? Was it like in front of my face and I didn't notice? But you see, the thing is, sometimes you have to show yourself grace, because for me, what I realized about that particular situation, there was one specific situation, and I realized, because I've never been in a situation where something like that had happened ever in my life. And so I wouldn't have known what signs to look for. Do you understand? If you tell me, like right now, if you tell me to spot if someone is lying to me, I might be able to say, I have an inclination that someone's lying to me, right? But if it's a situation that you've never, if you end up with someone and they're like, say, they're trafficking in like weaponry. I've never been in a situation where I know someone who traffics a weapons trafficked, or is like a smuggler of weapons, right? So I wouldn't know what to look out for, because I've never been in a situation where I've even seen. So I don't know what do you look out for? What are the points? Is it that if they put their hand in their left pocket, then that's a sign for something, or if they lift their hand, you get. So it took a while for me to get to that point where I was like, but Muthoni, you've never been in such a situation before. So what exactly did you think you could have looked out for? What exactly do you think you'd have done differently with the same information that you had? And I realized with the information that I had, nothing would have been different in that situation. If I'd gotten more information about that particular situation, I know I'm being very cryptic. If I'd gotten more information about it, then if when the situation was happening, I probably would have reacted differently. Or if then I reacted the same way and moved the same way, then maybe I could say you ignored, right? So sometimes when it comes to things like that, you have to allow yourself to understand why things happened the way they did. Losing, I think another one was losing the house. Not even like, okay, with that one, there was a lot of moving parts in the background. And being a woman living alone, it makes people think that then they can get away with certain things, that they can say certain things to you. And for me, it got like I lost confidence. I lost confidence in myself in seeing it through. But I also understand why, because I was battling depression. I was battling a lot of loss. And the confidence being lost wasn't as a result of me not being good enough at what I was doing. It was also based off of external things. So sometimes in losing confidence, it could be because things are happening externally that even you're struggling to comprehend. And so because of that, you end up maybe being doubtful about your capabilities. So that was I think the instance there. Another thing that like really challenged my self-worth, because I think confidence comes down to self-worth. How do you view yourself? And the way you view yourself, is that informed by you, your beliefs, and the value you've placed on yourself? Or is it informed by the value that other people have placed on you? When that relationship ended, I was like, okay, I did that whole thing, when the way they say sometimes women deal with the issues during the relationship. And then when you walk out, you're like, hey, I even saw a tweet about that today where someone's like, how is it that women are able to move on so fast? And someone said it's because they deal with the issues when they're still in the relationship. Um, I think for me, I left scarred. And and in terms of like self-worth, there's those moments where you go like, where things happen and you think you're the problem. You think, like, why couldn't they do better for me? And then you realize it actually has nothing to do with you. A trash person will still be a trash person, regardless of how amazing you are. Someone who wants to misbehave will still misbehave, regardless of how many times you ask them not to. That was a hard lesson to learn, that it had nothing to do with me, that someone else's behavior has nothing to do with me. And it took a while for me to learn that. It took a while for me to be like, because I asked myself, when I do things, why do I do them? And once you realize what your motivating factor is, then you go like, so this applies to other people as well. So if people are doing things, it's because they want to do them. It doesn't matter. And I've seen people having these conversations on Twitter over the last couple of months, the point of consideration, someone considering you as they do their actions or as they whatever. And this is like, it can be in the smallest of ways, where like you've even seen like in a matatu where someone will be like seated up on Bele, and then someone comes and they probably have a crutch, and you'll see someone consider them. It's like, oh, the only seat left is all the way at the back. I'll take it. You can sit here because I understand that you like have a leg problem or something. Or a mother with a child will come in, and then you'll be like, okay, maybe if and you have bags, like if you start over here, you'll be a bit more comfortable because there's a place, like, the seats behind the driver. There's a place for you to place the bag and still hold the child comfortably. So those small things are considerations. You consider people. And now when it comes to like you yourself, you have to consider yourself as well in situations where you go like, if I can think like this, that means other people are also capable of it. So when you look at yourself and you're like, wow, my work is so good, so why wouldn't someone else think that your work is good? At the end of the day, we are all made of the same substance. That's the thing that I've been reminding myself. So one of the ways in which I move through life is I tell myself I am capable of anything anyone else can do. That has helped me. But then a matter when you're building confidence, it needs to come from within. I know this is something that people say all the time, but it's true. It's very, very true. It sounds cliche, but it's true. The reason it comes from within is self-validation is better than external validation, because external validation can always be taken away. That then if you stop showing up in the ways that you show up for these people, suddenly you're useless, suddenly they don't care, suddenly this, right? And then what does that mean for you at that point? Does that mean that then you're worth nothing? No, your self-worth needs to come from you. You need to value yourself and decide what value you're attaching to yourself. And if other people agree with you, that's just a bonus. It shouldn't be pegged on, they have to see me this way first before I can accept that that's how I am. If people look at you and say, oh my God, you are so pretty. I remember there's a time I went for an event, and so this person walks up to me and they're like, oh, you're so gorgeous. It wasn't a conversation I was interested in to begin with. And they're like, oh, you're so beautiful. And I said, oh, I'm aware. Thank you. And I said, I know, or something like that. And it's because it was someone who was like all over the place. Okay. I don't know why I'm trying to excuse my response, because I do know, right? And I was like, oh, I know. And they're like, because they started saying, and then they started saying certain things that I was just like, okay, my intuition knew, because they started making comments about my thighs, and then they were telling me they would want to see me in a blonde wig. And I'm like, why would I do that? I have beautiful black hair. Okay, not anymore. But you get I was like, even if I'm wearing, I don't think it was weird. The conversation with this person was weird. But I remember how they called someone when they said you're beautiful, and I said, I know, but thank you. And they called someone and said, oh my God, I just told this babe that I think she's gorgeous. And she said she knows. And then the other person was like, yeah, did you not want her to know? Right? Because now the other person was like, what is the issue here? So you see, with such a person, they want to build you up to a point where that then they can take that if they now look at me and say, you're not even beautiful, then I'll feel some type of way. It's the same culture that we have of catcalling, that catcalling culture. Because anytime, I don't know if you've ever tried this, anytime someone catcalls you, they catcall you with the intention of you not responding so that they can be mean about it. I experienced this from when I was really young, and I've never understood the dynamics or the psychology of it, where they'll be like, oh, madam. And then if you ignore them, they're like, atavya si mrembo. And I'm like, so why were you trying to address me in the first place? Like, why are you meaning me like I'm a goat? What are we doing here? There's one time, I remember as a teenager, I tried this where someone did that and I turned and I said, Sema. And they were like, ni salamu tu. And they were like, flabbergasted. They're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say, because they're not genuinely trying to actually talk to you. They're looking for a reason to hurl insults at you. So if your confidence is coming from people telling you they think you're good, if your confidence is coming from external sources, then those same sources can easily take it away from you. When it's coming from within, you're the only person who can invalidate yourself. And in that moment, you can go like, why the hell would I invalidate myself like that? That's nonsense. And you can just be like, we don't do that over here. Which also goes back to how you talk to yourself. One of the things that I do is I big myself up. I don't wait for people to tell me I look amazing. I don't wait for people to tell me. I will look at myself in the mirror and I'll be like, girl, uko na mtu. You get I look at myself and I have this as like a caption on a couple of my photos. I say it all the time on stories where I'll go like, hey, ningeza kujikula, right? Because it's based off of how I feel about myself. And I won't lie to you. Any single time I look at myself, like before I leave the house, and I talk to myself like that, when I go outside, more people tell me how amazing I look versus days where I don't do that. I can tell the difference because it's like I'm already showing up with that vibe, with that energy. I remember like when I did this hair, I have new hair. I colored my hair, it's red. I styled it. It was done by mistake. Like it wasn't the look I was going for when I started the project, but then it's a look I ended up with. And my hair looks amazing. And I remember I was going for my friend's birthday. And before I left the house, I was just like, yo, I took photos and I kept looking at myself and I'm like, yo, like, why do I look so good? That's always a question I always ask. Like, I look in the mirror and be like, you look so good. And funny enough, when I got into the cab guy was like, hey, you look really good. And I said, thank you. When I was the place I went to pick up flowers, I went to pick up flowers for my friend. As I was walking into Sarit, the lady guard who was doing the bag search thing, she was like, "Oh my God, you look so cute." And I was like, "Thank you so much." And then the guy she was next to was like, "Akis, you hire me." And I was like, "What job do you want to do?" It's like, "Oh, I can just walk around and be your bodyguard." And I was like, "Thank you, let's talk about it." When I went to buy the flowers from the flower shop, when they did the ribbon, that guy goes like, "Oh, I made it just as pretty as you." I'm like, "Thank you." And you see, none of this was solicited. I didn't look as like, "Hi, how do I look?" No, I was already exuding that energy of, I know I look good. Whether you say it or not is none of my business because I already know I look good, right? And then people are just like, "Oh, wow, you look really good." So I'm like, oh, see, they're just confirming what I already know. So I'm not looking at it as like, oh, they're giving me new information. No, in that moment, I'm like, thank you for confirming what I already know. So your confidence needs to come from within. And so that means if you do lose confidence, ask yourself what's causing that loss. Are you invalidating yourself or was it because it was being sourced from elsewhere? Okay. Was it coming from external validation? Is that the reason why you're like, now I've lost my confidence because it was pegged off of ABC and ABC didn't go as planned. So that means, confidence out the door. When it's coming from within, trust me. I know. Everyone says everything starts from within. Self worth starts from it. It's literally in the word self worth. How do you value yourself? What worth do you think you have? That's the answer to the confidence question. So if you look at yourself and you talk to yourself a certain way, then that tells me the level of confidence that you have. And this should extend to all parts of your life. It will extend to how you show up at work. It will extend to how you show up as a sibling. It will extend to how you show up with your friends. It will extend to how you show up for yourself. So when you're thinking, oh, I want to be more confident, just say, I want to see myself as more valuable than I currently do. I want to see my worth as more than I see it right now. That is what is going to build up your self confidence. That's what I believe. Homework time. Homework. Since today we're talking about confidence and self worth, I would want you to do a simple exercise. Take some time to yourself, could be like 10 minutes, and remember 3 moments where you felt the most confident and write them down and then ask yourself what made you feel that way. And then like right next to it, so you can say, oh, the day I got, say my degree. And then what made you feel that way? Was it the degree or was it the fact that you were like, I actually did it. I believed in myself. I stuck through it. And that's the reason I'm like, I can tell people I am now a graduate in da 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 engineering and other stories, right? Is it a time where you wore a certain dress and you felt very confident because you liked the way the dress sat on your body? You liked that it was comfortable. What is it? Right next to the times you felt confident, just right next to them, what made you feel that way? And then, explore that a little bit more. Do not forget to subscribe or download this episode or share it. Sharing is caring. We do this every single week on Friday where you get to learn from my life. And we are here to share. And some of the lessons that I have learned, I'm learning them till now. Some of these things I'm like coming to the realizations like way later on. So please share with anyone who you think might enjoy this. Tell people about this podcast. We are just coming back out of a very long sabbatical. You can call it that. Not intentional, but it is what it is. You can follow us on social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram. The handle is at JDL, the podcast. And if you also want to share something with me, you can also email jdlthepodcast@gmail.com. Hashtag that on Twitter, JDL the podcast, in case you want to share this episode with someone, or if you'd like someone to learn a couple of things about the things that I have learned about confidence over my lifetime. I will see you back here next Friday with yet another episode. Thank you. Don't forget to follow us on socials and have yourself a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye bye.